Nearly 900 dolphins are dead, and that's just the number that is washed up on shore. I'm talking about Peru and one stretch of northern beach about 130 miles long. Since January, dead dolphins have been washing ashore there, and scientists can't agree on the reasons why. I want to talk to Sue Rocca. She's a marine biologist with the Whale and Dolphin Conservation Society. Sue, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
So what does your gut tell you about a dolphin kill this sizable?
Well, we have strainings all along our coast for all sorts of reasons. And generally, if one or two come up, there's all sorts of natural phenomenon that can cause that. But when you have something this large, my gut would tell me that there's something traumatic that happened at a snapshot that would kill this many animals. That there was a range of age classes, adults, pregnant females, calves, the young. So it definitely, something happened for sure.
So when you talk about examining the thing that may have happened, what are marine biologists going to be looking at? Are they going to be examining the carcasses of these animals to see if there's something viral, disease, or if there's something else that's environmental in the oceans in which these mammals have traveled?
Well, yes, you would need to look at all of that. You'd need to do necropsies, which is an autopsy, but on an animal. A lot of the specimens have been decomposed. You want to look at the organs. I know that they've been finding hemorrhagic lesions, which is just basically big bruises. They've been finding bubbles in the blood-filled oil and kidney, which is consistent with an acoustic trauma. They've been finding that some of the acoustic bones in these animals' heads have been fractured, but that's just a small percentage. There's over 600, well, 900 now, confirmed animals. But when some researchers, there's a lead researcher down in Peru, Dr. Yapin Llanos, who is kind of expanded that stretch of beach, and he's claiming up to 3,000 individuals. So he's gone out and looked at them and found these traumas of the head and areas in specific animals. So that's one hypothesis, that it could be an acoustic trauma to the animals.
So when we look at these animals from this footage, and it is disturbing to look at because we're talking about, it looks like a variation of things have happened to the carcasses, and I don't know if some of that is prior to the dolphins washing up or if that's as a result of people kind of poking around trying to figure them out, but we saw some of them were quite bloodied. Others even looked like they had been skinned, and then others look completely intact. So what do you believe is the explanation behind that?
Well, seagulls generally prey on the dead specimens. They also would need to be doing necropsies and cutting them up. I think that from the reports that I have read, there was different levels of decomposition when they were washing up. So maybe just different animals were further from shore and washing up at some of that decomposition was happening at sea, and there is a skin sloughing that happens that way. I read one report that some of the fishermen were using the more fresh meat, so they could have been repurposing that meat for something. So there's all sorts of things that might be happening to those animals. So real quick, Sue, before I let you go, you mentioned acoustic trauma. What causes acoustic trauma? Are you talking about, from shipping vessels or what? Well, our oceans are an exceedingly noisy place these days. We've got shipping traffic, yes. But when you see this level of straining, it's generally from either seismic, and there is some oil development right off the coast of Peru, or Navy sonars. We've seen it a lot with those. But it could also be biotoxins might be accumulating in the ecosystem there, and so they're feeding on fish that sort of come up. I think that's the big thing, is that we just don't know, and more investigation
so many unanswered questions.
Right, before people make definitive answers.
All right, excellent. Sue Rocca, thanks so much. Sorry to cut you off. We've got to go, but I really appreciate that and learned an awful lot.
No, thank you. Thank you very much.
We know we'll get some other answers, hopefully soon after they finish those tests. Appreciate it, Sue.
Okay, today's May 3rd. Found another article on more mass animal deaths. There's been 50,000 fish found dead in a pond in China, cause of a mysterious fish kill unknown. And May 3rd, Turkey, fish kill in Turkey, and it creates panic. I guess everybody is panicking due to the fish dying over there.
We're back now with the puzzling story of a massive kill of wildlife in the state of Arkansas. Birds falling out of the sky, the result of some sort of trauma, and fish found dead in the water, thousands of them, in separate incidents in the same state.
They rained down on a small Arkansas town like a scene from a horror movie. Thousands of dead blackbirds on front lawns, and so many in the street, drivers could barely avoid them.
Went out to get the paper, and I looked and I said, wait a minute, what is this? And there were birds all over. We probably had 14 or 15 just in the front yard.
As many as 5,000 bird carcasses littered across a 1-mile radius after dropping from the sky on New Year's Eve.
I thought the mayor was messing with me when he called me. He got me up at 4 o'clock in the morning and told me he had birds falling out of the sky.
Geez, what a way to start the new year, right?
Yes, sir. Last year we started it with floods, and this year birds.
What could have caused it? As the state veterinarian examined the birds today, theories have run the gamut. From their being hit by lightning or high-altitude hail, to being spooked to death by New Year's Eve fireworks.
It really is like something out of a horror film. Every yard in the area looks a lot like this one. Dozens of birds litter the ground, and the scariest part is no one knows how they got here.
Everybody's kind of amazed at this happening.
Most of the animals are red-winged blackbirds like this one, and they're not just on lawns. We found so many of them on some roads that it was difficult to drive without crushing one.
The dead drumfish are now littering a 20-mile section of the Arkansas River near Ozark.
And adding to the mystery, a massive fish kill also here in Arkansas, just 1 day earlier. As many as 100,000 drumfish dead along a 20-mile stretch of the Arkansas River. It's 100 miles from the dead birds, but the internet was ripe with conspiracy theories. One Twitter user writing, 5,000 dead birds, now 100,000 dead fish. Definitely an alien invasion happening in Arkansas. The experts call it coincidence.
Extremely unusual. Having two events like this at practically the same time. We don't think that there's any connection whatsoever.
To alarming, some have called biblical type events that have many residents wondering what's next.
Back now to our top story, a terrible mystery gripping the world right now. Birds, fish, and all kinds of creatures just dropping dead in huge numbers for what seems like no reason. Just in the last 2 weeks, the theories and speculation running rampant.
Hundreds of dead seals in Labrador. These seals washed up around Hopedale. There are similar reports from other communities. No one knows why these animals died.
Bruce County Humane Society is investigating the death of 200 cows.
The cattle were discovered on a farm field on 4th Street in Amherst. Today, the bodies were taken out in semi-loads to be disposed of. The Portage County Sheriff's Department says the animals died.
It occurred suddenly with devastating results. A series of huge fish kills, the latest involving 2 million fish in Maryland.
On Kent Island, Maryland, along the Chesapeake Bay. Wildlife officials say roughly 2 million of one particular species died very suddenly. But this came at about the same time that thousands of birds died suddenly in Arkansas and Louisiana, and millions of fish were killed in separate incidents from Arkansas to South America to the South Pacific.
This is all a sign of the apocalypse. Authorities in northern Italy say more than 1,000 turtle doves have dropped dead over the past 5 days. It's the latest in a series of unexplained sudden death incidents affecting creatures in the sky and underwater. The events have sparked a media frenzy, with doomsday speculators saying it hails the end of the world. 8,000 dead turtle doves in Italy, hundreds of birds dead in Rockwell, Texas, 500 red-winged blackbirds in Louisiana, 100 birds in Sweden, 3,000 dead red-winged blackbirds in Arkansas, several hundred dead in Kentucky. On the fish, several hundred snapper fish in New Zealand, thousands of dead fish in Florida, 40,000 devil crabs in the UK, 80,000 drumfish in Arkansas, 2 million spotted croakers in Maryland. In the last 2 weeks,
well, thousands of fish are dead at the mouth of a shipping channel, as well as a dead whale that was reported in Venice today. The species include crabs, stingrays, eel, drum, speckled trouts, and redfish.
In the UK, 40,000 velvet crabs littered the coast. Brazil, 100 tons of lifeless fish floated. And in Sweden, jackdaws fell in the dead of the night. Across the world, the bizarre phenomena of creatures raining down or washing up on shore has mystified scientists.
The video you're about to see is not a gravel road. Those are the dead fish.
This footage that was taken recently was in Rio de Janeiro, I believe, or Santa Cruz, South America. I'm not exactly sure what's happening, but all over the world things are changing. We're talking about environmentally, the weather-related changes may have an effect. Look at all these dead animals, these dead fish. This is in Bolivia, South America. Alligators dead everywhere. Whatever was in the water is coming up dead. This is happening all over the place. It's happening in the United States. It's happening in South America. What is going on? I've got footage of other things happening in the Middle East on some of the beaches where there's just millions and millions of seashells that are just washing up. The dead animals that live within the shells are somehow just washing up on shore. All you see is an ocean of just dead.
200 dead cows in Wisconsin and 7,000 dead buffalo in Vietnam. What is happening?
I think the media is, by and large, not blowing it out of proportion. They're actually underestimating how serious it is.
More than 800 dolphins, now more than 500 pelicans are washing up dead on the coast of Peru from Punta Negra to San Jose. It's a mystery as to why. Marine conservationist Hardy Jones recently visited this area in Peru, and he is the executive director of Blue Voice, an ocean conservation organization that protects whales and dolphins. I spoke earlier with Hardy Jones about the situation.
The pelican number is now up to 1,200. That's my latest report from Peru. And there are a variety of reasons why these mass mortality events take place. None has been defined for this particular event. But the important thing to know to get the context of this is that while this event in Peru is absolutely catastrophic, and for someone like myself who loves dolphins, it's heartbreaking, it is not unique. There are so-called mass mortality events that are taking place right now in the Gulf of Mexico in the United States waters. There have been 6,000 striped dolphins that died in Spain on 2 occasions in the early 2000s. There are dolphins dying off of Cape Cod right now. And I could give you a longer list than that, but the point is that these mass mortality events are increasing both in frequency and in virulence.
And now, in Canada, there are seals, hundreds of seals on the east coast washing up on the shore, young and old. And nobody has any answers. I mean, this is all new. It's all happened in January.
Ministry of Fisheries staff are baffled at what caused hundreds of dead fish to wash up on several beaches in the Coromandel. Holidaymakers discovered the snapper at Little Bay and Waikawa Bay and say the fish stretched along the beaches as far as the eye could see. Ministry of Fisheries staff have taken samples of the dead snapper for testing.